Hello everyone. Today we're going to start a new chapter, and the name of our chapter is Congruence of Triangles. So this is the 7th number chapter from your textbook. So in this chapter we are going to basically discuss about the congruency of triangles. But before discussing about the congruency of triangles, first of all let us know what is actually meant by congruency. What do you mean by congruent figures? So first of all let us know about it, and then gradually we will go to the congruency of triangles. So let us begin. First of all let us know what is congruent figures. So if two objects or figures, whatever you say, if two objects or figures are exactly the same shape and size, they are said to be congruent. And the relation between the two congruent objects being congruent is called congruence. So let me make it clear. Say if you take any two objects, or say if you take any two figures, and they are both of the same shape and size. That's why the word has been used object. So congruency doesn't only stays within the limits of the figures, it can be also in the case of any object. So say if any object is exactly looking the same in shape and size, then those two objects can be considered to be congruent. And this relation which shows this congruentness is called congruence. The relation which shows that yes, these two objects are having the same shape and size, that relation is called congruence. Clear? So here in this chapter we are basically focused on the congruency of the figures. Next, the method of superposition examines the congruence of plane figures, line segments, and angles. So this method is basically used to check whether the objects are congruent or not. And that method is called the method of superposition. Now what happens in this method? Say if we take any two plane figures, and if you have to check that whether the figures are congruent or not, then just we need to place one figure above the other. And if we see that it exactly covers the other figure, completely covers, not completely actually, we can say exactly covers, exactly fits upon the other figure, then we can say that both the figures are congruent. And then it is denoted by this symbol. It looks like a equal to, but above that there is a curl. So we can say that both the figures are congruent if we superimpose both of them. Means one fits exactly upon the other. So that then we can say that both the figures are congruent. Say for example, these two circles, they are having the same radius r. So do you think that this first circle will exactly sit upon the second circle? Yes, that's absolutely correct. Because both the circles are having the same radii. If we cut the first circle and try to put it upon the second circle, it will completely superimpose on one another. As a result, we can say that both these circles are congruent. Similarly, if we take these two squares, ABCD and EFGH, if we cut ABCD square and try to put it upon the square EFGH, then we will see that both these squares are fully superimposed on one another, because the length of the sides of these squares are the same. So as a result, we can say that yes, both these squares are congruent to each other. And we can denote it by this symbol. We will write ABCD is congruent. We will write this symbol, put this symbol, then we will write EFGH. So that will show that these two squares are congruent. Clear? Now let us move to the next topic. Congruence among line segments. When can we say that there is a congruency, or when can we say that two line segments are congruent to each other? For that there is a rule. If two line segments have the same, that is, they have equal length, then they are said to be congruent. Also, we can say that if two line segments are congruent, then they must have the same length. This is just the reverse of that. So say for example, let us understand this thing from the figure. Say for example, we have two line segments AB and CD. Similarly, we have other two line segments PQ and RS. Now from this figure, clearly, can you identify which two line segments are congruent? Yes, that's absolutely the first case, where AB and CD are congruent. But in the second case, as you can see, PQ and RS are not congruent because the length of the line segments PQ and RS are not the same. It's clearly seen from the figure. Whereas in the first case, AB and CD, they are of the same length. So we can say that AB is congruent to CD, but line segment PQ is not congruent to RS. Clear? Now similarly, in the case of angles, also we can show the congruency. And for that, the rule is given: if two angles have the same measurement, they are congruent. Or vice versa, we can say that if two angles are congruent, then their measurement has to be the same. Say for example, let's look at this figure. In the first figure and the second figure, you can see angle ABC and angle PQR. Whereas the other two, angle LMN and angle XYZ. Now if I say which figures are congruent to each other, then clearly you can see the measurement of the angles. ABC is 40 degree, PQR is 40 degree, LMN is 30 degree, and XYZ is 40 degree. Now if I compare the measurements of the angles, then we can easily say that angle ABC is congruent to angle PQR, or we can even say angle ABC is congruent to angle XYZ. We can say angle PQR is congruent to XYZ, but none of these three angles are congruent to this third one, LMN, because here the measurement of the angle is 30 degree. So it is not the same measurement as the other three angles. So the other three angles are congruent to each other, but in this case, LMN, it is not congruent. But one more thing you have to keep in here, that not only the measurement of the angles, if you see here carefully, sometimes, as I said, the superposition also has to be seen. So some might say that if we superimpose this on this, it will not cover up the whole thing. As well as if we superimpose this on this, it will not cover up the whole thing. Yes, this criteria also might be followed, but for the time being we will only focus on the angle. So we can say two angles are congruent only when they have the same measurement, no matter if we draw it in this way or in this way or in this way. We have to focus only on the angle. So that's why, as I said, that if the measurement of the angles are equal, then we can easily say that those angles are congruent to each other. Clear? Now let's come to the congruency of triangles, which is the main topic of this chapter, the congruency of triangles. When can we say that two triangles are congruent? Now two triangles are congruent if their sides and angles, if the sides and angles of one triangle is equal to the corresponding sides and angles of the other triangle. Yes, so let us understand it from the figure. Say if we take two triangles, triangle ABC and triangle PQR. Now when can we say that these two triangles are congruent to each other? Now these two triangles will be congruent to each other only under these conditions. Say for example, if angle A is equal to angle P, angle B is equal to angle Q, angle C is equal to angle R, and side AB is equal to side PQ, side BC is equal to side QR, side CA is equal to side RP, then we can say that both these triangles are congruent to each other. And as you can see, this is the symbol used. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle PQR. Now these all criteria has to be satisfied. Only then we can say that both the triangles are congruent to each other. Now, one interesting fact is that why we have written angle A to angle P. We could have written angle A to angle Q also. No, we can't write it, because to show the congruency, as here it is written, it should be the corresponding side or the corresponding angle. Now the angle A is corresponding to angle P. Angle B will correspond to angle Q. Angle C will correspond to angle R. Similarly, the side AB will correspond to side PQ. Side BC will correspond to side QR. And side CA will correspond to side RP. Clear? Only then we can say that both these triangles are congruent to each other. Now there is something called CPCT, or if we write it in the full form, it is called corresponding parts of congruent triangles. Now as I said, this angle and this angle are corresponding angles. This angle and this angle are corresponding. This angle and this angle are corresponding. Similarly, this side is corresponding to this side. So all these angles and sides which are corresponding to each other, they are called the corresponding parts of congruent triangles. If these two triangles are congruent and if these are the corresponding parts, that means if they are equal to each other, then we can say that they are, or even we can say in short that if these two triangles are congruent, then all their corresponding parts are equal. No matter if it is given to us or not given to us in the question also, but if the two triangles are congruent, then we can say that yes, the corresponding parts are also equal. And that is the rule of CPCT. We will see it when we will solve the questions. Then you will learn how this CPCT is used for proving the different geometrical problems. You will get it in your higher classes as well. In the congruency of triangles, there are some different rules which you will learn in the upcoming videos. Now let us see one example. Now here it is given, triangle ABC and triangle PQR are congruent under the correspondence. ABC is corresponding to RQP. Now in geometry, one thing you should remember is that you should try to use symbols as much as possible. Here I have used the symbol of triangle to represent this triangle ABC. Similarly, this is used to represent the correspondence. And that another symbol which you have seen just now, that was for that equal to and above it there is a curl, that was used for congruency. So use of symbols in geometry is very much important. Now let us see how to solve this question. Now the second part says that write the parts of triangle ABC that corresponds to PQ, line segment PQ, angle Q and line segment RP. Now for better understanding of this question, let us draw to understand the correspondence of ABC with RQP, let us see the figure. Now clearly from here we can see that which part of ABC. Now this is triangle ABC. Here in this triangle ABC and triangle PQR. Now PQ is the line segment of which triangle? This one, PQR or RQP, whatever you say. So if we consider this line segment PQ, then which line segment in ABC, triangle ABC, is corresponding to this side PQ? So we are trying to understand it one by one now. So first of all, as you can see here, angle A is corresponding to angle R. Now, why angle A is corresponding to angle R? Why not to angle P? Because, as you can see, the name of the triangle, that is very important here, RQP. So R is corresponding to A, Q is corresponding to angle B, and angle P is corresponding to angle C. So the order has to be followed. You have to see the order. That is also very important. No matter how you draw the triangle, but the order has to be followed. So here the students make the confusion. The order in which the triangle is written, the name of the triangle, that order has to be followed in order to check the congruency, in order to check the corresponding parts. So here PQ. Now if side PQ is there, that means PQ, the last two letters. So it will be CV. So PQ will be corresponding to side CB. Similarly, angle Q will be corresponding to which angle? Angle B. because Q is in the center, so angle B is also in the center. So Q will correspond to angle B. Similarly, RP will correspond to side AC. Clear? So no matter how you draw the triangle, you have to see the order, and accordingly you have to write the correspondence. Is it clear? So I hope you all have understood today's video. So this was all about the introduction of correspondence as well as the congruency of different figures. So in the upcoming videos, we will be learning more about the congruency rules of the triangles. So that's it then in this video. Thank you and have a nice day.